You know that exact moment. The conversation is going fine, maybe even really well, and then something happens. Someone finishes a sentence, a topic runs out, a joke doesn't quite land, and suddenly there's nothing. Just quiet. Just two people in a space where words used to be. And in that moment, something happens in your body. A small but unmistakable drop in your stomach. A sudden, sharp awareness of your own face and what it might be doing. A frantic scrambling somewhere in the back of your brain. Say something, anything. Fill this gap before it turns into something terrible. And so you reach for whatever is closest. You blurt out something half-formed and slightly desperate. You overlaugh. You say something that doesn't quite make sense just to make a sound. And now, instead of a simple silence, there's something genuinely uncomfortable, an awkward exchange that didn't need to exist, and the conversation has lost whatever momentum it had. Here's the thing. That moment, the one that felt unbearable, the one that triggered the panic, was probably not as bad as it felt. It almost certainly wasn't as noticeable to the other person as it was to you, and the awkwardness that followed it, almost entirely created by the panic response itself. Because here is the truth about awkward silence that completely changes how you experience it once you understand it. The silence is almost never the problem. The reaction to the silence is the problem. Let me explain why. Millions of years of human evolution have primed our nervous systems to treat silence in social situations as a potential threat signal. For our ancestors living in small tribal groups, a sudden silence, in a conversation, in a gathering, could mean something was wrong. Tension, conflict, danger. The group's cohesion felt threatened, and your body's job, in that moment, was to resolve the threat as quickly as possible, fill the silence, restore the flow, prove the connection was still intact. That ancient wiring is still running in your nervous system today. Every time a conversation goes quiet, a part of your brain fires a low-level alarm. And if you're someone who already carries social anxiety, if you're someone who monitors conversations closely and worries about how you're being perceived, that alarm is louder and more immediate than it is for other people. But here's what your ancient brain doesn't know. The silence in a modern conversation is not a threat. It's not a sign that anything is wrong. It's just a pause, a breath, a natural moment in the rhythm of human interaction where the words temporarily run out. And the people who handle these moments the best are not the ones who have the fastest reflexes for filling them. They're the ones who have learned to let their nervous system alarm go off and choose not to act on it. Now here's the research piece that should genuinely comfort you. Studies on how people experience silence in conversation have found something fascinating. The person inside the silence, the one experiencing it firsthand, consistently rates it as far more uncomfortable than observers watching the exact same silence from the outside. This is the spotlight effect showing up in a very specific way. You are aware of the silence with your entire nervous system. The other person is experiencing it with just a fraction of their attention, and often, they're not even fully registering it as a problem. You are living inside the awkwardness. They are standing at a distance from it, and what feels like an eternity to you is, from the outside, often just a completely unremarkable 2-second pause. But here's where it gets more interesting. Because even when the other person does register the silence, what determines whether it actually becomes awkward is not the silence itself. It's what you do in those first seconds of it. Think about two different people encountering the same conversational pause. Person A, eyes dart slightly, shoulders tighten, nervous laugh escapes, then something rushed and slightly incoherent comes out. The discomfort is visible. And because it's visible, the other person picks it up. Their brain registers. Something's off, this person is stressed, and now they feel it too. The silence became awkward not because it was a silence, but because of what person communicated in the silence. Person B sits with the pause, makes soft eye contact, maybe a slight, genuine smile. Comfortable. Unhurried, like someone who knows that silence is not an emergency, and the other person sees that and thinks, "This is fine, we're fine, I'm comfortable here." The silence passes as easily as a cloud, and the conversation picks back up when it's ready. The silence was identical. The experience was completely different, because one person communicated safety and the other communicated alarm. And in social situations, emotion is contagious. Whatever you feel, you leak, and whatever you leak, the people around you absorb. So the first and most important thing you can do when a silence arrives is this. Take one slow breath. Not dramatically, just internally, just for yourself, and relax your body in that silence rather than tensing it. Because the physical relaxation sends a signal to your own nervous system and to the other person that says nothing is wrong here, we're okay. This is just a moment. Now let's talk about what to actually do, because sometimes you do want to move through the silence rather than just sit in it. And there are 3 ways to do this naturally that feel nothing like the panicked filler responses most people reach for. The first is what I call the observation pivot. You simply notice something real about the environment you're both in and comment on it genuinely, not as a performance. Not as a desperate grasp for something to say, but as a real human being sharing an actual observation. Something you notice about the place you're in, something happening nearby, something about the situation you're both part of. This works because it grounds both of you in the present moment. It says, I'm here, I'm present, I'm noticing things, and it opens a door for the other person to engage without any pressure. The second is the genuine question, not a filler question, not something you're asking just to fill space without caring about the answer, but something that has actually surfaced in your mind during the conversation, something you genuinely want to know. It might be connected to what you were just talking about, or it might be something new. The key is that it's real, that you're actually asking because you're curious. And genuine curiosity, as we've talked about before, is one of the most magnetic things you can bring to any conversation. People feel the difference between a question that fills space and a question that genuinely wants an answer. The third is the callback. This is a technique that good conversationalists use naturally without even realizing it. You go back to something from earlier in the conversation, something the other person mentioned that you found interesting, something that sparked a thought in you that you didn't follow at the time. You say, actually, I was still thinking about what you said earlier about that, and suddenly the conversation has thread again, continuity, depth. The callback also communicates something important to the other person. It shows that you were genuinely listening, that what they said earlier mattered enough for you to still be thinking about it now, and people feel seen when they realize they've been retained. But I want to end on something that completely reframes the way you think about silence in conversations. Because the real goal here is not just to survive awkward silence without panicking. The real goal is to eventually reach a place where silence in a conversation doesn't feel like something to survive at all. There's a scene in the movie Pulp Fiction, and I'm going to use it here not because it's a film reference, but because it captures something genuinely true about human connection. Mia Wallace asks Vincent Vega whether he can handle sitting in comfortable silence with someone, not having to fill every gap, not performing, just being with another person without the constant pressure of words. And she makes the point that being able to do that with someone, really do it, without it feeling uncomfortable, is a rare and meaningful thing. She's right. Comfortable silence is not the absence of connection. It is often one of the deepest forms of it. The moments in relationships, romantic or otherwise, where two people can simply be together without needing to fill the space with noise, are some of the most intimate moments that exist. They happen when there's enough trust, enough comfort, enough genuine ease that the silence doesn't need to be justified or escaped. And here's the beautiful paradox of all of this. The moment you stop being afraid of silence, the moment you can sit in it with genuine calm and let it pass naturally, it stops being awkward, almost immediately, because the awkwardness was never in the silence, it was in the fear of it. So your action step from this video is simple. In your next conversation, when a silence comes, and it will, don't reach for the first thing that comes to mind. Take one breath, hold the silence for just 2 full seconds before you respond to it in any way. Just 2 seconds. Feel what it actually is. Not a threat. Not an emergency, just a pause. And then, from that place of calm, decide whether to observe, to ask something real, to call back something earlier, or simply to wait a little longer and see what happens next. You will be surprised how quickly silence loses its power over you when you stop running from it. This is low-key mind, because the people who are the most comfortable in silence are almost always the most powerful in conversation. Subscribe if this is the kind of content that helps you think differently. Share it with someone who goes quiet in the wrong moments and panics in the quiet ones. And drop a comment below. Tell me the situation where awkward silence hits you the hardest. I read everyone. See you in the next one.